Hi there, and today I've got Di with me again. We've spoken a few times before. We've always had great conversations. I love it, and the feedback we get from others too is that they love these conversations. So, yep, we're doing another one. And today we're going to talk about Oranga Tamariki, which is New Zealand's organisation for taking care of kids who need state care. Is that right, Di?
Correct. They used to be called SIFs, children, young persons and families, and before that they were social welfare, and now they're Oranga Tamariki. Now we know Tamariki is children, but I'm not quite sure where Oranga come from. Like I said in my speech at Unsilenced, is that these people are trawling through the dictionaries, grabbing the old words and repurposing them. So, and no, I'm not quite sure what Oranga means myself, but I do know it's not a very good place because I just call them the child catchers, Katrina, because interestingly enough, 85% of the homeless have been in state care. The stats are the same for people in jail. So I view them as the feeder to jail.
So that's, yeah, so we need to take an interest in them, basically.
We do. First and foremost, because it's really different, just this is a generalization, okay? But when men go to prison, they come out to their wife and their family, if, just generally, if they're lucky that their kids haven't been captured by the child catchers, right? When a woman goes to prison, she loses everything. So there'll be some skank that's moved into her house, taken her man, taken her furniture, the kids are in care, she'll come out to absolutely nothing. And this happens time and time again. And people need to take an interest in these kids in care because they've got no one in their corner. I'm in this fight for the children, particularly children that don't have a voice.
You mean the
Which
gender
is
ideology, the gender
yes,
ideology fight? Yes, yeah,
yes,
yeah, and
I'm
that
in it for the children.
yeah, and that brings us to the Official Information Act request you made from Oranga Tamariki, which we refer to as the OIA. It's not always that easy to say quickly. And looking at this list of things, and they came back with you because you were asking things like, how many kids in care have on puberty blockers, how many take cross-sex hormones, how many have been supplied breast binders, and they came back to you basically saying, oh no, we can't supply any of that information because it's not really kept anywhere that we can access easily, and it would take too much
Yes.
time and effort to collate it.
Yes, I mean, asking about in care. Now, the reason I did that OIA, the Official Information Act request, was because just around Christmas, I was trawling through the government jobs, as you do, and, they were advertising for 100 rainbow practitioners
So
for
did the
in care.
practitioners have to be rainbow, or they just wanted them to work with rainbow?
Possibly a mix of both. So long as they sung off the rainbow song sheet, you could have a job.
Right.
Like, and just recently, like, I'm not sure what's happened since the submissions, but they were doing away with the need for police checks, and their excuses once again, because the excuse for doing everything is Tītiriti and Māori.
And Tītiriti, for those who don't know, is the Treaty of Waitangi, which in English,
Yes.
so I should translate to English, means the Treaty of Waitangi. And when I was growing up, the Treaty of Waitangi was something that we held in reverence. I mean,
Yes.
to be honest, I didn't know a lot about it, but we knew this thing had happened in New Zealand's history, and it was something that was important and we held in reverence. And now it just sort of
And
seems to have been, I don't know. It's just like
trotted out at every possible time as an excuse to insert this imported ideology. Now, the Treaty of Waitangi, the importance is that we're actually the only country in the world where Indigenous people got one.
Yes, yes. That's what I learned as well. Is that by the time the
Yes.
English came to New Zealand, they realised that they'd better sort of maybe start doing things a little bit differently than what they'd done before when they'd gone to other countries with Indigenous people. Yeah.
People, yeah. So, everything's been done under the treaty, and I'll say it again, like I'm always saying it, is that when this turns, Māori will bear the brunt.
Yeah.
Because they're using us to do it. And, so we've got these children in care where all the staff are rainbow trained, rainbow brainwashed, because it does it does something to the brain physically when you start using the language and believing the garbage they're teaching.
Yeah, Sarah
And
Henderson pointed that out in a chat that we had a little while ago about
yes,
how the language just absolutely does rewire the brain.
yes, and it does. So we can't use any of it. So that's why, well, that isn't the only reason why, but I'm particularly hardline on the language. And these kids in care don't stand a chance. They're traumatized. There isn't a child in care that hasn't been had a path of trauma to get them there.
Yeah.
It's not there. They're not there as a holiday camp or a break. Goodness me. And so they've got no one speaking for them. Everything is rainbow washed. They're supplying binders. They're doing this. I think it's appalling. They are not keeping records outside of individual children's files. It's like when we were talking, Katrina, and you said to me, it's like they've just let the rainbow people in and let them loose. And that is exactly what's happened. So how can they not be keeping records of something so important, and also that they're like in stats, they were trying to force gender into stats. So on one hand, they're forcing it in statistically, but then at the coalface, they're not collecting it.
Yeah. And I've had that kind of confirmed by someone else, just unofficially, saying that, I'll just see if I've got a few notes here, that they basically, the social workers, it's up to them where they record their information. So they can record it in different places, like they can, so there's no set place to record such information as we're talking about here. And that they
Yes, and so the
places.
OIA tells me I have to go to the Department of Internal Affairs, the Department of Health, and Te Whatu Order. So I have to go and do this to 3 different departments for the information that I believe they should be recording outside of the personal files for future care, for where to in the future, for follow-up. It's just a very laissez-faire attitude towards doing this. It's like you mentioned rainbow and all bets are off and they'll do what they want and get what they want. And, the trauma that these children have been under, we think about these children that are being transed in care. So the children young girls are being given breast binders. They're being told how wonderful and beautiful, and they get a lot of attention. And I think it's safe to say that children in care crave this attention, positive attention.
Yeah.
And this is what the state's version of positive attention is. I just, all you parents out there, you have to just grow up really and parent better and say no and do everything you can to keep your children out of Oranga Tamariki. Because since the inception of OT, that there have been 57 children murdered in New Zealand.
Oh, wow. And when was it? When was the inception of OT?
3 years.
3 years ago, and 57 children.
3, maybe 4, yeah.
So
I know it's not that long ago.
No, you mean when that's when it's changed its
Yes.
name from child, youth, whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now I happen to think all these name changes are really just to hide all their stats. Because I happen, like Shane Winter, who calls himself Ashley Tuko Winter, who killed the Demetrius Pairama. She was 17. She was a ward of the state when this happened.
Yeah. And when they and like the thing about children too in state care, as you say, excuse me, they haven't had, you know, very good upbringings, you know, and they know how to lie and to dodge and to escape home and things like that. So they do get out into trouble, you know, by mixing with people who are like really unsavory.
Yes, but where else are they meant to go? Like they
No,
interstate here, and suddenly everything's rainbow washed, and all your problems are because you're trans or non-binary or nothing about being gay, of course. It's just all trans and non-binary. And like this is the biggest lie. The other thing that we need to consider, there's two really important things, two important arms to this, Katrina, is that, you know, we worry about the children that are being transed, right? Which, and rightfully so, but what about those children that are being lied to? They're seeing a boy in front of their, right, standing in front of them, and they're forced to call him a female, a girl. They're forced to have him in their sleep dormitories. They're forced to shower with them. They're forced to the toilets with them. So the first thing for me is that we are stymieing little girls' instincts.
yeah. Oh, that just guts me, you know, that aspect of it, like right from the start, it's like, oh, look, have these boundaries, but not if they say they're girl, not if boys say they're girls or men say they're women. Oh, then you have no boundaries. Then that all flies out the window. It's just appalling.
All right.
All right, so a bit of a glitch there with the internet getting a bit unstable and the screens freezing. But we were talking about how girls now are basically, we try to teach girls, you know, young girls, that how to have boundaries, you know, to be safe in the world and trust their own instincts and stuff like that. But not if a boy says he's a girl or a man says he's a woman, then those boundaries don't apply, and that's pretty appalling. So that's what we were just talking about before things went a bit
Yeah.
wonky with the internet. Um, and somehow we were relating that to back to kids and care, but I'm not quite sure where we got with that. So we'll carry on anyway.
Well, because you're in care, it's very similar to jail. You've got nowhere to go. So for the men that are in jail, I want all the people who say that they're women and that it's okay and they should be in jail, women's jail. Where do women go to escape from these men? There
Ah,
is
yes.
nowhere for them to go. It's the same as in care. And because it's so affirmed in everything, like you were just saying, you know, the girls learn their boundaries and, you know, even to like, you know, how girls sit and just all that stuff that we all learn as girls. You know, we don't sit there with our legs splayed and in mini skirts and then teaching girls a high level of hygiene because of our menstruation and you know all these
Yeah.
things. Now they're all going by the by, and it's all been given to boys who say they're girls.
Yeah.
So that to me is straight away damaging the natural process of girls learning their instinct.
Yes. And that's right. And we were talking about how Oranga Tamariki are lying to kids, you know, by saying to them,
Yeah.
saying that you know, these vulnerable kids in care, you know, by basically saying that if a boy says he's a girl, then he is one, or a man says he's a woman, he is
Yes.
one, you know, and these kids are already, you know, messed up, to put it kindly, you know,
Yeah,
and
they're already traumatized.
mm,
And you know, like for adults, you know, you get to adults and you know, we all recognize trauma, but when you're a child you don't have the adult brain, and so anything that feels good is good.
yeah,
It's
oh
that
yes.
simple to children.
And you seek
Hey,
you seek more of it, just like anything. Like before we started recording, we were talking about addictions, you know, and how
yes,
you just seek more of it. What you feel makes you feel good, what you think makes you feel good. You're just going to seek
yeah,
more of it, and
and more.
Yeah, and more so.
It's the disease of Moorism. That's why this tranny train really, really reminds me of addiction, because it's progressive.
Yeah, yeah. There's
And,
no
and I
boundaries
can
to it,
speak
is
to
there?
this. There's no boundaries, and there's no boundaries to addiction either, you know. And I can speak to this, Katrina, because I'm a qualified addiction counsellor, you know, so
Oh,
I can speak to addiction. That's what I did my degree in, was addiction counselling services. So it's just being a counsellor with extra, and then you learn all the addiction stuff and different modalities. But they're both progressive. You know, you have the little boy saying he's a girl, and it progresses. And if he keeps on this path, you can see it's very clear what this path will take.
yeah.
You know, and until this movement come along and captured the state, because trans children don't exist.
No.
It's a fabricated lie from the state. The state is lying. Like 80% of all donation money goes to the rainbow.
What
Everything's
donation?
going to the
What
rainbow.
donation you talking?
Any,
Oh, sorry.
any donation money, you know, you go to your groceries and go, oh, do you want to round it up for the rainbow youth?
Oh, and what do you
And then
think, Di? Can you say it
I
here?
won't repeat it here. No, you know, I can do my, you know, I give them my friendly poo cunner. And depends what day they get me on, but you know, I just no, it's a lie. And I'm going to say it really clearly
Yeah.
that humans can't change sex. There are no trans children, and stop grooming the children. You are ruining youth. If you think teenagers are angry now, you wait till this next lot of kids that have been brought up in this bullshit, you wait till they're teenagers and realise everything was a lie.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think that
Yeah.
I'll finish this in a minute, but I'm just sort of just going back to how you get asked if you're going to top up for the rainbow youth or whatever, you know, in the supermarket. I wonder sometimes if they sort of filter people, because I've never been asked if I want to. And I'm thinking, oh, they look at they look at me and think, oh no, she's too much of an older straight white woman. She's not going to go for that. So,
Or like the supermarkets, the warehouse, and they have their donation boxes, you know,
right.
and it used to be that those donation boxes ran for a month, and then it was another charity and another
Oh yeah.
charity.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen any other charities for quite some time. And as we know, you know, who was it? Foodstuffs and Countdown and them, they're well behind the rainbow. Staff get extra time off if they're rainbow people. You know,
Yeah.
we're all being told to lie. And if we don't lie, we're unkind. So they're grabbing the most vulnerable of children and putting them into state care, and state care is now transing them. How many of them are going to come out trans?
Yeah.
Like, I just couldn't think of anything worse of coming out of jail and my daughter's now my son, or vice versa.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, what the?
Yeah.
Imagine that. Like, you know, if I'm suggesting that people who go to jail are actually, you know, traumatized and addicts as well, and that haven't done any you know, counselling or any work on themselves or any 12 steps or anything that's available, and you come out to go get your family and it's all changed. You've now got a
Yeah.
daughter.
Yeah. And you're
Oh,
supposed to go
yeah.
along with it. Yeah.
And you're supposed to go along with it, because if you don't, you're mean, you're horrible, you're transphobic, you're a
Oh,
bigot, you're a Nazi.
the list is long, isn't
Most,
it?
yes.
Long.
And then, you know, like a lot of, well, in New Zealand, we're at a place now where, apart from the teachers not being able to be fully functionally literate, that children are coming out of school illiterate. I mean, I think I'd die if I couldn't read. That is the biggest gift you can give a child. Is
Yeah.
you know, it's being able to read and count, and
Yeah.
you know, all that's gone by the by for the rainbow. We don't even have a base level of literacy. Oh, but they know their pronouns, they know all the symbols, and they're being indoctrinated and brainwashed to believe this is real. And this is such a big, fat lie.
And as we were saying before, you know, like the next generation of kids coming up, I mean, you wonder, like, are they going to be so angry at this being perpetrated on them, you know, or tried to be when they're going to see the generation before
Yeah.
what a cock up they are, you know.
Yes, it's just, you know, I'm completely gobsmacked that I can't get this information because none of it is harmless. You know, they talk about social transition. And that's, you know, that's just with the pronouns, the new name, the haircuts and the dress, nothing medical. But that is very harmful. All of it is harmful. When you've got children being told that that boy's a girl and they can see it's not, and then for them to go, oh, but he's got a penis, miss, and then they get punished.
Yeah.
So
that's just so hard
yeah,
to get your head around, isn't it? That, you know, they're absolutely trying to restructure kids' brains, you know, and to not believe their eyes. And I mean, I know that, you know, your eyes aren't always reliable, tricks can be played, but we know when someone's got a penis, we know it's a male. He's a male.
Yes.
You know, we just know that because we're basically we're humans are animals, and that's what we're wild to do, is to survive by breeding between female and male. So.
Hey, and so these kids in care haven't got a chance. They haven't got a hope in hell of coming out unscathed. Every child in the state care system is being damaged and abused by the state.
You know, I did a bit of just had a little bit of a scout around on the Oranga Tamariki website, and I came up and I encountered this report that was done in dated November 2021, and it's called Rainbow Young People Report. And you know, straight away, every kid is rainbow, so straight away they're obfuscating, you know, like
yes,
what kind of rainbow they are. You know, it's just all under this rainbow umbrella. And you know, it's no wonder you can do nothing when there's no distinction between who's who, what's what. It's just incredible that they said, and this is they said of the 331 young people, there was a survey, and of these are the people who participated. Of the 331 young people transitioning out of care, and I got a bit confused at that transitioning word to start with, you know, but what they mean is sort of going from state care into when they don't need state care anymore, that kind of transitioning. So at first I'm thinking, what, you know, transitioning, you know,
language matters.
Yeah. So transitioning out of care who participated in the survey, 19% consider themselves part of the LGBTQIA plus / rainbow communities. I mean, what does that even mean? What does it even mean? You know,
it means they're ignoring the reality. These children, and I'm just going to be really blunt here, Katrina, because it really enrages me. You know, we use a euphemism, trauma. So let's label trauma: physical violence, sexual violence, incest, starvation, nutritional, emotional.
Yeah.
This is the trauma that's being ignored, and they're putting a rainbow washing everything.
Yeah.
And then these children get medicated. So the real problems are going unaddressed.
Yeah,
It takes a life.
Yeah.
You know, it takes lifetimes,
that they're
hours.
rainbow. They put it down to
That's
the fact
it,
that
they're
they're rainbow.
Oh, you've had incest in your family. Don't worry, you're non-binary now.
Yeah. You can change your identity and everything will be okay.
Yes, and that's such a, you know, that's a travesty, because these children need serious, real mental health assistance and help, because, you know, as children, no matter what happens, children blame themselves. Mum and dad are beating each other up. What have I done? It's my fault. you know, that all gets into, that's just the nature of children because they don't have an adult's brain. And then come puberty is when all that sex and everything kicks in. Prior to puberty, children do not have the mental capacity for all this sexualized speech and way of being. It just,
No,
you know,
plus, you know, it's yuck to kids.
it is yuck. You know, all you know, speaking about those boundaries, and it's like we're just putting children on platters and, you know, go into state care because your home's been torn apart and suddenly, you know, you're rainbow and everything's all right. And then the kids are, you know, while it feels good on one hand, it's, but what's happening with mum and dad? What's happening with my siblings? How can this be so? There's still all these unanswered questions, and it just gets pushed down and pushed down. You know, it's like they're like those geese they force feed for pate. Same sort of picture to me. They're just doing that with the rainbow. Everything's because of this, and real problems are going unaddressed. So for me, it's no wonder we've got such a high youth suicide.
Well,
You know,
yeah, I think, look, just to something else that says here, in line with other research, rainbow young people were overrepresented in care. And yeah, so 19%, you know, who's responded to the survey said they were part of the rainbow. Now, I think, did they become part of the rainbow after they went into care? You know,
yes.
yeah.
Yes, and what date was that report?
That was November 2021. So like, you know, a bit over 2.5 years ago. So,
Right, so it'll be very interesting to know the stats, the present stats. I bet it's no longer 19 because, you know, everywhere you turn, this is being enforced.
yeah.
Like if, you know, this is the worst psyop ever, mate. This, because humans can't change sex, they're damaging children. I don't know how they think that these damaged children are going to go on to become productive members of the community.
Well, that puzzles me too, Di, and I'm sure it puzzles a lot of people. like, think about it, you know, because as we know, nothing has an impact report done on it when it comes to rainbow anything. Nothing has an impact report done on it. No long-term consequences are looked at. It's all about, oh, what's going to make them happy now in this moment.
Happy now. Yeah, so you can't get more addictive than that, Katrina, because it's all in the moment. But you know, these youth aren't going to stay youth. They're going to grow up, and they're meant to be, you know, like they're our future, and they're being completely brainwashed.
Yeah,
they're being dumbed down. They're being taught to navel gaze.
yeah.
See, because I think a lot of these problems are because people are left to navel gaze 23 hours a day. Poor me. You know, there's a saying in the AA rooms, it's poor me. Yeah, poor me, another one. And well, yeah. Yeah. And, you know, we are damaged, like these damaged children are being doubly damaged by the state. And because they don't have anyone. I mean, and then like, oh gosh. And then the state's doing all this, oh, ask about face stuff for cultural competencies. You know, like I was brought up in the city and, you know, because we were brought up with Māoris and on marae and what have you, but the most of my learning has been done as an adult about the culture, apart from living it.
Yeah.
You know, so we can, you know, we pick it up and it's gonna, until the day I die, I will never learn everything I need to about the culture because of we're in a very dangerous time at the moment where the culture's being used and abused. It's being rewritten. You know, like they're trying to tell me that we had this in our history when it's very clear we didn't. This didn't exist in Te Ao Māori back in the day. And the rainbow just takes everything. I, for one, are just aghast for these children in care. That records and proper, accurate records are not being kept. And yet New Zealand taxpayers pay billions of dollars for this organisation
Oops, freezing again.
to
Silly old
do
internet.
it, and it's all really cool.
Oops, maybe have to pause again. Hang on.
Okay.
Oh no, that seems to be settled down again now. Gosh, it's a bit annoying today, this whole internet connection. But what I was interested about was that I'm just getting nothing to say. That in the response you got, it said that that they went to Te Whatu Ora, and who was that? The Ministry of Health, Te Whatu Ora, and Department of Internal Affairs to try and get the information you requested, and none of them had it. None of them said that they collected that information. Well, they all said that.
Yeah.
So that they said that for that reason, they had to deny your request. Your request was refused, as the information required cannot be made without substantial collation of research. And that's right. And then prior to that, they said, about Te Whatu Ora, Department of Internal Affairs and Ministry of Health. The reason that all these agencies refused transfer, confirming they do not hold the information. So they're making.
Isn't that appalling?
So they're making these. They as you say, they're bringing everything. They're bringing all this rainbow stuff in, and that's all we can say it is rainbow stuff. Because you just don't even know what half of it is being half of it is or anything like that. So they bring that in. They have no structure to deal with it or anything, or any policies, and well, they make policies up to enforce it, but they have no structure to actually deal with any of it, or anything like that. But so they just do it, and it's like, where does the information go? It just, there's no responsibility about it taken for it.
Yeah. No accountability, no responsibility.
Yeah.
And, will these people still have jobs when this turns? Will it be their head on the block, or will it be, that's what we thought then, but, we don't think that now, so it's okay. So they're damaging generations of children in state care and out of state care. But I have because the kids in care have nothing. You don't end up in care because you've had a good life.
No.
And a lot of it is addiction driven. And then, they come out and their whole world shattered. But they go in and all they're offered is rainbow training. Yeah, this will make you feel good. Oh, yes, you had incest because you're really rainbow. Yes, you got beaten because you're really rainbow. Everything's for the rainbow.
That was the reason.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
Yes,
not that you had adults in your life, it was just, mongrels, but
that were failing, that weren't adulting, that were self-serving. I mean, goodness me. So, and I just really feel for the kids in care, because there's nowhere where they can go. They've got no one they can speak to outside of the brainwashing workers. Because we all know it. If workers stand up against it, they get fired. Like, they were advertising for 100 positions, Katrina.
100 or 200, was it?
Yeah, it might have been it was 100 or 200. I remember reading, thinking WTF. Just what? All for rainbow and the Māori rainbow people and blah, blah. So, but what's also happening under this is that the only qualification they need is rainbow qualifications.
And they get that from the lobby groups, from Inside
Yes.
Out and Labour Youth, gender minorities. Yeah.
Yep. So from what I've read, that's what they need. They don't have to be social workers. They don't have to be clinicians. They don't have to have anything, just like what's going into our schools, but rainbow training. And this rainbow is highly sexualizing children.
Yeah. I mean,
it
we've
is
seen
highly
that in the relationships and
sexualizing them.
education's guidelines, haven't we? Like there's some really sort of age and appropriate sexual content in there, and about sort of gender identities and stuff like that for very young kids. So
yeah.
Well, these
I,
this is staggering, isn't it? Like, you know, what 100 or 200 social workers just, you know, have been rainbowed in some way,
yes,
and they don't have to have any qualifications, and yet they're going to be on, like, I suppose, good salaries, you know, for
yes,
this, you know.
it'll be over the 50s, and
Yeah,
50K a year, and for no qualifications yet.
yeah, and then there's
I couldn't. Yeah, like I can't go work for SIFs even with my qualifications because I've had a misspent youth and I've got a police record, right?
so
I can't work with
that's why
them,
they need 20-year-olds before they've done anything bad, too bad.
So someone like I'm as safe as houses with children,
Yeah,
but I can't go work with them because of my past.
right.
But if I went and retrained as a rainbow worker, I bet you I could.
Oh, that's an idea, isn't it? That would be a good experiment. So,
Oh
but,
no, there's not enough hours in the day for me to do
oh,
that.
I mean, why would you
But
why would you want to put
that's how
yourself through that?
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
But see,
so
that's how biased, dangerous, ridiculous that you just have to be rainbow trained,
yeah, and that's
which I find.
I mean,
Well,
we're just
that's
seeing
who's
this, you
in our
know.
schools.
I mean, that we're just seeing this rainbow. Well, I call it the neo rainbow, really, of course, because you know why? Like not like the rainbow of old at
Yes,
all, you know. But we're just seeing
yes.
this, like, this neo rainbow insertion through
No, yeah, Neo
all
Rainbow's good.
our institutions, everything. Even though poll after poll after poll is now showing that New Zealanders are not on board with this, and yet all our public institutions are entrenching it more and more and more. They're getting these brainwashed young people out of university come in there and say, "Oh, we have to do this, we have to do that," and everything like that. And the adults, if there's any adults left in the organisation, are dumbing themselves down to, you know, to be
Yeah.
the kids and taking all this on board. Interestingly, you may have seen it on X. The Free Speech Union have done a couple of interviews with university students about free speech, you know, and they've interviewed sort of I think I've seen two, and they've interviewed two at a time, I think. And it's really interesting the indoctrination that's coming out of their mouths. Oh yes, I believe in free speech. Oh, but you know,
But, but
you've got to check your
yeah.
biases before you open your mouth. You've got to not if you say anything, you know, not if you say anything hateful, or not if it's this and not if it's that and not if it's something else, you know. And these are university students. That's what's coming into the workforce. You know, they're just
Yes, and they're everywhere and they've infiltrated. We've got young people in our government that, are just ridiculously brainwashed, and they just have it's just full of pithy sayings, mantras, and they're indoctrinated in their language. And I mean, look at that vile message that Debbie Nariwa Pack has sent to Catherine Chow from, the ACT minister who's now the head of
yes,
OT.
Karen Chua, yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah,
Thank you. Like what the
yeah.
It's just disgusting. There's no other word for it, Katrina. All this
Repeat,
new age language stuff
repeat what she said, because that's, yeah, I think people would be, if you
that
remember.
that she should have been taken off her parents and maybe given a proper Māori upbringing because you're not Māori enough. I
No,
mean,
that's right, yes, because she was brought up in
that,
state care, wasn't she? Well,
yes,
she spent time in state care. Yes.
spend time in state care. Like us sisters, we were brought up Catholic. So when our house burnt down, we were very lucky we didn't go to state care. We ended up in a Catholic orphanage while our parents got another house and everything. Otherwise, we would have been in state care. And I shudder to think what that would have been like for us. I mean, the orphanage wasn't fun,
Yeah.
but it also wasn't horrible like state
Yeah.
care is. When I did that pop-up, and I did a pop-up protest in Auckland when I was up there on holiday, on holidays. Oh yeah, let's have a pop-up. And the whole time there was a group of homeless people, mainly men, and they were heckling the whole time until I spoke about this. And then it was, hey, she's speaking about us. Because the stats clearly show Oranga Tamariki is the feeder to jail.
Right, yeah.
It is the feeder to homelessness.
And yet they want
Like
to spend their money on rainbow.
yes,
People have got rainbow, some sort of rainbow indoctrination, and that's what they
yes,
really have, a really poor idea of where money is best spent.
yes.
Really
And my big problem with the rainbow is that real problems and real issues are going unaddressed.
Yeah, because they want to spend it on the rainbow, the neo rainbow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
They've been
so we
convinced somehow that this is where everything has to go. Everything, all the attention, all the money, everything. Somehow they've been convinced it has to go into this neo rainbow sort of ideology. It's just bizarre.
I think it's the billionaires pushing us to somehow, because this is a well-funded, well-marketed machine, and behind it are billionaires.
Yeah.
And these billionaires, like we're talking about kids in care, but the billionaires that are funding this don't want to die. And so it's all about transhumanism, living forever. Who wants to live forever? Life's hard, man.
Yeah, and you've got to break down, you've got to break down boundaries first, before you
Yes.
sort of install
Yes.
sort of like what can seem like radical ideas. You've got to start
Yes.
breaking down boundaries first, so that in the end it just seems like another step.
Yes. Yes. And so it's no surprise to me they targeted women first, because just another generalization is that women stand in front of children. Who's behind us? The kids. So they had to bowl us out of the way first. For a country that gave women the vote first, they need to hang their head in shame. Because we've got nothing.
Women are easier to dupe when it comes to anything to do with feelings, emotions, people,
Yes.
things like that. You just tell, you're easier to dupe with a sad story.
Yes, because of our social conditioning and female socialization. We're taught to put everything, our needs, secondary to everyone else's, because, gee, one day we're going to grow up, have a husband and a family. Whoop, whoop. But,
that's why people sort of hate older women, is because they've got a bit past that.
Yes, haven't we just?
The hormones aren't quite, the hormone levels of that pesky estrogen has dropped.
Yeah.
We're not quite so susceptible to a sad story. Yeah.
Yes, but I should, and that's not just the old hormones, that's experience.
Well, yes,
but I think, these, bowling women out of the way is to get to the children. And, we've just entered this be kind. Yeah. And I say, if be kind of what? Since when have we had to worry about how other people feel? Like there's rules of engagement in the community and society, of course there is, but it's just gone top heavy with navel gazing on this be kind. And so people have to double speak just to be honest, and oh gosh, I ain't got time for that. And this is a terrible time to be alive. I think we're in World War III. It's just that they're not wearing jackboots. It's the neo rainbow.
Yeah.
It is. They're destroying the family unit.
Yeah.
And to me, a family unit is sacrosanct. It is parents' responsibility to parent.
It
is.
I mean, it absolutely is. Thinking about, like for example, now, and I'm going to think that Oranga Tamariki is exactly the same. The Ministry of Women in New Zealand thinks that men can be women if they say they are. They've got that on their website. They only consult with groups that are on board with them. I don't think they consult with
Yes.
any other groups that aren't on board with them. And I've had sort of, you know, heard that a group, someone who did sort of approach them about, you know, joining in with consultation, they were basically told, oh, are you sure you want to? You know what we're about, sort of thing, you know, and sort of trying to put them off.
Yes.
And so anyway, I'm sort of thinking now, yes, I'm thinking about that and thinking now, somebody's got to get in there, you know, and
Yes. But
be the voice there. And I'm thinking that this is with Oranga Tamariki as well, is that all they do is consult with groups that are on board with their neo-rainbow
yes.
ideology.
Yes. That's all the surveys, every it's all crap, mate. Because all they've just asked each other how you're feeling, or I feel like shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm great now, I'm trans. I'm great now, I'm trans because, man, am I so medicated, I don't know what way's up.
Yeah.
So they just interview themselves. It's just an echo chamber. And, like you say, that's all they consult. And, and the questions like when I did my degree in that, it took me months to get my research question pinned down. The language used to have to be kept really tight and know exactly, so there was no room for error. Well, all that's gone out the window.
Yeah.
It's all gone out the window. And I say to parents, get your kids out of university and get them to learn a trade.
Yeah.
Universities are,
I was thinking back to what you were saying before. I can't quite remember what it was. Something about the language. And it's almost like that looks like a sub-language going on as well, because I'm referring back to
code.
the breastfeeding and the chest feeding sort of thing.
Oh,
And at the moment,
yes,
most of us know that, when people say chest feeding, most of us know that actually it's breastfeeding. That chest feeding is just
yes,
a new word for breastfeeding. We know that. But what about all those coming up who don't know that chest feeding? Oh, what's chest feeding? Oh, it's how do you chest feed? Oh, well, you have to have breasts to chest feed. Who has breasts? Oh, yeah. Well, people who are assigned female at birth or something nonsense like that. So there's going
yes.
to be all this convoluted sort of language going on, and it's almost going to be like a sub language. Like people say chest feeding, and yet the understanding is going to be something different. What people understand it.
Of course it will be. And that's the rewiring of because language is a code. We speak in codes in different languages, and this is another language code that's wrecking the brain. And when we say chest feeding, when you say that to me, the first thing I think of is La Leasley letting men do it.
Oh yes. Oh, they're just they're bizarre. They've just gone insane, basically.
They've all gone insane.
Yeah.
The lunatics have taken over the asylum, because if you're sitting there brainwashing children to ignore what's in front of their eyes and what they know to be true, you're a lunatic. You're an absolute stark raving mad nutter. You're a nutter, mate.
Yeah. So what they're educating, training children to do is to second guess themselves all the time, to not believe what they're seeing and stuff like that, and to second guess themselves and to say, oh no, it's not really that, it's this, because that's what I've been told.
Yes. And the children that don't buy into it are punished until they capitulate.
Yeah.
So you imagine being in state care and you're all alone and you're all traumatized and you're not very happy and you're upset. And if you don't buy into this, there is nowhere for you to go. No, you'll be lucky to get bloody fed in there.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Grim, isn't it?
I
think it's pretty disgusting that they can just, and as I said, this neo rainbow label that everyone's gone under now, this umbrella, I think that it is just one of the most dangerous things that we've ever done.
It is.
Because
it is.
there's no distinction between anyone. You can just pop them all under this umbrella and you don't have to collect data. You don't have to sort of make any distinctions. You don't have to
No.
do any impact reports. You don't have to do any follow-ups. It's just this whole, just this umbrella.
Yeah.
And what does it even mean? It just doesn't mean anything. But
No, and it's
you can use it.
yeah, poor record keeping, poor record keeping. On one hand, the government's, saying we need a census because it informs what the community, society, what New Zealand needs. But then on the other hand, at the coalface, the practices are not being kept. They need to keep these records to inform best practice for follow-up. Oh, that's right, they don't follow up.
Yeah.
It's madness. It is really dangerous. I'm really saddened for the children in care because they've got no bloody hope before they even, they've got no hope of escaping it. Oranga Tamariki have a captive market. It's like being the only restaurant on an island.
Yes. They're it.
Hey,
Yeah.
they're it.
I wonder this, that the poor record keeping and everything, part of me is wondering now if these lobby groups that come and train, into whatever, they actually sort of, I wonder if they actually sort of imply or say or somehow impart to these organizations or institutions not to keep records, not to keep records.
No, I don't think so. I think that the lunatic neo-rainbow organisations are just being given the buffet. And they just go in and do it. And then it's just, the social worker, oh, yep, Sammy's Sam now, or fucking, Selena's now Sam, or Sam's now Selena. Oh, okay. And it's just put on the children's individual file, just as a matter of course, because that's what happened today. Nothing more. It's like what happens in schools. They just come in and they're given the buffet. Teachers don't even have to be present.
You think that the lobby groups don't actually encourage poor record keeping because because they might imply that it's traumatic for the child record to be kept on them?
I think they're given the power to go in and do what they want. And, I don't think they're specifically saying not to keep records because they couldn't say that. That's just, they're just going in, and because they've been brought in, they're state funded, they're from the government, there is a level of implicit trust that comes with them. And just the rainbow. Oh, yes, okay. But for the state to not keep these records in a meaningful manner, to me, is really, really bad. They've let lobbyists in, they might as well let the Hardy Krishners in, let everyone in.
So basically, these lobby groups come in and they seem to be the ones with the specialised knowledge.
And that's what they say, they're specialists. Yeah, well, WPATH aren't specialists. PATHA aren't specialists. They're lunatics. They're neo-rainbow lunatics. And everyone, we're in this situation where everyone's too scared to question. So they've been given carte blanche to do what they want. And then it's just presumed, oh, yes, they'll be keeping that record. Yeah, well, they're not. They're not keeping records. So these children in state care don't stand a chance against the onslaught that is in there. So we've got unqualified people, but they're well brushed up on the rainbow. They haven't done human development. I remember learning about human development from Piaget and Erickson and just all these standing on the shoulders of giants, and you can see, and even Freud, except for he got it wrong. It's not penis envy, it's Venus envy.
It's Venus envy.
Yes, so the state's employing people without qualifications apart from the rainbow because they're the experts. Well, they aren't the experts. They're just brainwashed people. They're just all they're lunatics. Their brains being rewired to believe absolute garbage.
And somehow
Because
the people in our the people in our institutions somehow have also been wired to believe them.
yeah, yeah. Well, their wiring is, you won't have a job if you don't.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's quite powerful. And that's probably why all the best people do leave now. I mean, I think once upon a time,
Yes.
there were people who would stay in the public service, for their whole careers, and they learned a lot of institutional knowledge. They were valuable. They were almost not, no one's irreplaceable, but, what they contributed was incredible because of
Yes.
what the knowledge they gained. And I think now that I think there's fewer and fewer of those sorts of people in our public service now because of all this DEI and rainbow rubbish that's going
Yes.
on. So
Yes.
they leave to go to the private
Or
sector.
hide. Or they have to hide what they believe, and then
Yeah.
and then if they want to take it to supervision, which supervision's a practice that people who work with hurt people have to do to keep their practice clear and clean, but they can't take it to supervision.
No. Right.
Because
Yeah.
we know, like, everything's just so top heavy on this rainbow that surely it has to tilt soon. Surely. So, I don't have the wherewithal to do these 3 OIAs to the DIA. I don't believe the Ombudsman will make them collect it because, like they say, it's a lot of work. Well, if you'd done it in the first place like you meant to, like, having worked in mental health and you do your records every day of what's happening and you've got a database to put it all, I think it's their responsibility to supply this information. This is really important information we need to know. I mean, I'm pretty sure I already know the answers anyway. Like when they're putting social transition houses into poor communities like Porirua, which they are, there's a social transition house in Porirua. Probably more than one.
So you're saying that's a bad place to put it?
Anywhere's a bad place to put it, but it's just like the gambling in the pubs and all that go into poor communities.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Like you don't have these places in Remuera.
Oh gosh, that would be something, wouldn't it?
Hey,
For those
and
who
so
don't
they've
know,
got to have.
Remuera is an expensive suburb, or
Yeah,
I don't know, is it the most expensive? I'm not sure, but suburb in Auckland, yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, so just what the? Everyone's gone absolutely insane. Everyone but New Zealand First are insane.
yeah.
Well,
Look,
National won't speak about it. ACT won't speak about it.
no, yeah. I mean, what can you say about them? I mean, they're just. I mean, I just remember Chris Luxon. When pre the election, when someone asked him about what was happening, that New Zealand First were, want to put through a single sex sort of toilets bill, and Chris Luxon says, "Oh, I'm not hearing of anyone talk about that to me when I'm on the election trail, or the campaign trail, I should say." He said, you're off the planet if you think people care about that, and I just, so yeah,
That's incredible, isn't it?
yeah,
Like my muko's going to be 6 soon. In another year, she would have been able to take herself, like say we're at the mall and she has to go toilet, and she'd be able to do that herself because she's a big girl. You can't do that anymore. You can't let your little girls go into public toilets because creepy men are in there.
yeah,
Lunatic boys are in there. Young boys that have been told their girls are in there. And they take precedence over everything. So you can no longer let your children do that. And as for you, Lux Flakes, where are your daughters gonna have a shit outside of the Koru lounge? Hey?
yeah,
Where are
yeah,
they gonna go into a changing room outside of some flash boutique?
yeah. And
I'm talking about poor people.
the other thing too is that there's a lot of um, how can I express this? the prevailing thought seems to be all about reactive safeguarding. Like they want something to happen first and then they'll react to it if it gets reported, if the woman or girl reports it. They've gone away from this proactive safeguarding, which we used to have in place, because the fact that the entire history of humankind shows us that it's good to have a blanket rule to exclude all men from certain places that women and girls go to.
Yes.
But they've gone away from that. So it was quite understood that a proactive, safeguarding was good to have in place. And now it's all reactive. And they want, as I said, they want things to happen first to women and girls. Then those women and girls to go and report it, which is carrying on the distress, it's still carrying on the distress. Go and report it. Get someone to actually look into it and to decide whether or not they've got a valid complaint or not. So it's all carrying on the stress and distress and everything like that. And putting there, having to sort of rely on probably one person, to decide whether or not they've actually got a case to answer to. Now, in the case of, not a case to answer to, a case to be answered to. In the case of situation of a man who goes into a woman's toilets, and says he's a woman and does something untoward, by the time a woman goes out, she's not allowed to say, get out of here now. She's not allowed to say that anymore. By the time she goes to get a manager of a facility to come and have a look to see if this man is still behaving badly, he's probably not even there anymore. And he's gone.
Yeah.
So what's the
Isn't it shocking?
What kind of report are you going to file?
Yeah, like how many girls, how many women, how many children, what's bad enough? What's bad enough for you to turn this around? Yeah. How many have to be beaten? How many have to be threatened? And like we're at a stage where, like we're getting random kids being attacked. This is where we're at, apart from all the crime.
Oh, right.
A kid's in a bus stop and another kid will come beat them up.
Yeah, yeah.
So girls don't, this is a terrible that all the safeguarding is gone. You can't let your girls go anywhere without you. Why? Because lunatics have let men loose. And conversely, men are allowed their own spaces as well. But we don't beat them up because we can't. That's just the reality. You will get the exception to the rule that people will hold up and go, but they beat him. Oh, whoop-de-bloody-do. It's an exception. It's not the rule. We are not strong. We're not big.
Yeah.
As women. And so, like I say, conversely, males and females are allowed spaces without each other.
Yeah. And, if you start breaking down women's and girls' boundaries, that's the first step to being able to break down, quite a lot of other boundaries in society. So this is very much sort of the end game.
It is the end game. You're telling young girls that the only value they have is to affirm males, and that they don't count. No one cares about them.
Yeah.
And that they don't matter. That's what young girls are being taught, and that their only value is in service to men.
Yeah. And, we tried to move away from that. I mean, second wave feminism wasn't perfect, lots of flaws and failings within it, but at least, we got some things put in place that were like about women, and then lo and behold, what we call third wave feminism, or the lib fems, came along and, this.
They're just, our poor kids, mate. The poor kids of today are going to be they're so confused. They're being taught a whole lot of rubbish because there is no scientific evidence for this. The only scientific evidence is at the end of a surgeon's knife, and the evidence is in his pay packet.
Yeah.
There's nothing, this isn't real, this is rubbish. And it must be really hard for people who've been brought up to you know, trust the state, trust the government, they know what's best and what have you. And yet now we're in a situation where we've got a prime minister who doesn't give a rat's ass for women or children. Like Mike King, he's rainbow friendly. He uses rainbow counsellors.
And Mike King is he's
I am hope.
He's at the helm of I Am Hope, a mental
Yes.
health organisation. Yes.
For youth. And like he may have done good work in the past, but no sooner you pick up the Neo Rainbow, in my mind and eyes, you've lost credibility.
Well, it ruined to me. I just say it really bluntly. It ruins everything.
It does. It ruins it. It's like the reverse Midas touch. Instead of turning stuff to gold, it turns it to shit.
Yeah, I mean, I
Because it
think
does.
that there's going to be, the backlash is going to be quite a drive towards conservatism, and that
Yes.
and that that's going to have its disadvantages in other ways as well. But I think that's what's going to happen. Is that
the pendulum, yes, it's going to go too far that way, and then it'll have to come back to rebalance. But it has to. I mean, we've had the cash report and we've had the WPATH file drops. And still our government isn't moving and they're ignoring it. And they're saying it's not pertinent to New Zealand. What do you mean it's not pertinent to New Zealand? Are we on another planet or something? And us Kiwis are just so special that we're not outside like other people.
5 minutes later, they'll be in another subject. They'll be saying, "Oh, it's international best practice."
Yes, yes. So and they're putting Dracula in charge of the blood bank. Hey, so these kids in care are being abused. They're being lied to and they're being used to prop up adult delusions.
Yeah,
and it's all state sanctioned for adults' delusion and pleasure. They are removing all the boundaries from our young girls and boys to please mentally ill adults and to affirm them. Children and women are not emotional props for mentally ill men. And nor are we shields for mentally ill men.
No. And it's
because it is a mental illness. It's still in the DSM-5. It may have been moved, but it's still in there. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you're mentally well if you want to start chopping bits off your body.
I mean, do you even have to say it? That's the bizarre thing. It's like, no, we'll do this, and then you'll be happy. And of course, you're always going to get the one trotted out, like, yes, I had this, I took all these hormones, and I had bits chopped off, and I'm so happy. You're going to get always going to get those ones trotted out. But in general, I mean, for goodness sake, you just can't imagine it.
State-sanctioned junkies. Like, I'm sure some of these young people who are going along this path that are so happy and ecstatic, I'm sure they're just junkies, mate, hyped up on all the morphine and, because I don't think people realise that it's not just one surgery.
Yes.
It's several surgeries. Now, New Zealand did 11 gender reassignment surgeries last year. We're in a cost of living crisis, bro. Yeah. People are, having to, our food banks are empty. The food bank queues are huge. And yet money is going to the Neo Rainbow to surgically harm people. Yeah. It's really hard to get your head around. Like, I couldn't write a better science fiction novel if I tried. Hey.
You can imagine people writing about this time in years to come, can't you? Like you sort of think, you cannot imagine what the priorities were.
And that's right. Like, I don't believe in my lifetime it's going to change, Katrina. I don't do this, my big mouth, get out there and do what I do for notoriety. This is a public record of my descent. That's all it is. And in history, people will go, there were heaps of people trying to stop it.
Yes.
Why weren't they listened to?
Yes, and it's all recorded now. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we have to.
So Mana Wāhine Kōrero, they're, really sort of, strong on this. And do you have people joining you now that help you with this?
No, because apparently we're scary.
So you're what, you're scary even to other Maori women? I know, I don't think.
No, see, and this isn't Māori's way of like at our unsilence last week when I did my speech. I don't hear any other Māori speak openly about this, but they do behind closed doors.
Right.
And
They won't come out. Yeah.
No, it's just not the way. So when
you say
it's always baffled
way,
me.
When you say it's not the way, because I mean I understand that obviously that there's a lot of non-Maori women and men who won't come out and speak about it openly either because of all the fear that they have around sort of work and family and friends. But is that the same with Maori? The same sort of fears?
Yes, and also they're being retrained. Like we've got to we've never had so many university trained Māori in positions of power, and they're not doing us any favours.
No, they're not, are they?
They're not. Like I live in where I lived, a Māori man who was wearing mata ora, which is the male's tāmoko on his face, was pulled out of his car at the lights and beaten. And this is only going to get worse because the Māori in power are shit talking.
So he was beaten by who? By Pakeha?
Yeah. Yeah. He was just
because
pulled out of his car at the lights, smacked over.
Because they're angry with what's going on, with what they're hearing
and what
like
they're
that.
hearing and what they're being taught, and and it really saddens me, Katrina, because I remember the struggle my mum had with racism and stuff, and then we come to a time where it was just so I was just so proud to be a Māori. It was yay, we've made it, and now we've gone downhill again. We've got
people are getting resentful about.
Yes, and rightfully so.
Pushed on them and stuff, yeah.
Yes, and it's not for everyone. It's not yours. You don't have to have everything. And then we've got all these Māori in power, and nothing's changing at the coalface. They're doing all this stuff, and yet we're getting all. What about Baby Roo? No one's spoken about him. Or we've had out of these, it's 58 kids now, actually, not 57. Only a couple of them are Pākehā that have done it. But when is this going to be addressed? When is the rheumatic fever? When is the poverty? When is all this going to be addressed? Because this is real. All that shit they're talking ain't real. It's all that stuff up here. It's not going to improve the day-to-day life of Māori. And they talk about
can't see it. I mean, we can't see it happening now anyway.
No, not with these radicals in power who go on and make victims. Like when I saw that little video that TPM did with the little boy carrying on, it just reminded me of Hitler, because that's exactly what he did.
I don't think I've seen that video. Yeah.
Oh my Gideon, I don't know, he might be 7, he might be 5, this young lad, talking about how sad he is with his land gone. It is sad. It is horrible. But they're not helping to heal any rifts. They're not helping for the stats because, oh gosh, 70, 69, and right, so nearly 80% of children in care are Māori or PI.
Yeah.
The same stats run through the jails, and that's why I clearly and unashamedly call Oranga Tamariki the feeder to jail.
Right, yeah.
Because the stats don't change very much from either place of how we're overrepresented. And giving people, on one hand, you're saying that we're just so oppressed and Whitey's so bad. I mean, bro, we're in 2024. Get a grip.
Yeah, I mean, That's a good point. You know, like we're not in 1924 anymore or
No,
anything like
no, I
that.
think
Yeah.
we're in 1984, but hey, but
Hey, so
yeah, but you're not helping.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying about it building instead of like it's building resentment more than it's building cohesion
Yes,
or knowledge or
yes.
anything like that, you know, or incorporation. It's just sort of seems to be building resentment more than that. Um,
Like, there's some very beautiful parts to Māori culture, absolutely
mm,
beautiful, Katrina, that I've been so glad that I've been immersed and brought up like that. But no one's talking about that, are they? All know. They're all talking about this theoretical in your head stuff.
mm,
That it's not tangible. You can't grab it and hold it. Like I'm a firm believer that Māori should not be taught to everyone. It's not yours. You don't have to have it, and but it's protected. Yes, it is. It's protected for us because we almost lost it.
yes, yes,
And then you get people who go into a 8-week, 12-week, 6-week course, and you can put that down as having Māori knowledge.
sounds a bit like the rainbow, doesn't it?
It
The
is
Neo
exactly
rainbow.
like that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I'm really saddened because I think I've watched my whānau, aunties and uncles for generations fighting at the Waitangi Tribunal Land Court. So many of them have died before it got settled. And now the Waitangi Tribunal's coming out all bloody gung-ho and stuff that isn't actually their business.
Yes, there's a lot of controversy around that at the moment, isn't there? It'd be interesting to see how that evolves.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's really makes me sad that
Mm,
while they're doing all this stuff over here and this and blah blah blah, Māori on the street are being hated and picked off.
yeah. Mm,
And because I wear ko-ai, I'm quite immune to it now and walk around with my eyes shut. The amount of stares I get, or people crossing the road, or
oh, definitely.
or they're talking behind their hand, and it's picked up. I've noticed it. It's picked up,
And you know,
and it's not.
it's also there's probably they're fearing you as well. You
Yeah,
know, not it's not just sort of like um pointing at you, discriminating or that sort of thing. They're probably also fearing, thinking, oh yeah, I'll get out of her way or something. That's what I'm
yes.
yeah, just off the top of my head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I'm a 60-year-old. I'm pretty broken physically because of all my injuries, and I'm only 5 foot. You've got nothing to fear. Calm down. It's ridiculous. It's sad and it's enraging, and so
Yeah.
all of this is going unaddressed, and everyone's been force-fed the neo rainbow. I really like that neo rainbow because there's no LGB can't take the rainbow back. It's too tainted.
Yeah.
And some of them do want it back, and I'm thinking, oh God, give it up, mate, give it up.
Mm. No,
You're gonna have to give it
yeah,
up,
yeah. It's it's
and
ruined now. Yeah.
it is, and LGB are all the letters, and and then they bring in intersex. I think, oh goodness me, no, intersex are either male or female.
Mm.
End of.
So these kids in care, I mean, not only sort of they're getting this sort of, you know, as you say, there's brainwashing, neo rainbow washing with the L whatever. It's also a constantly moving what would you call it? Constantly moving line or something like that. So it's unstable. It's unstable.
It is
So it's,
unstable.
they come into care. They come from an unstable background. They come into care, and if they get into this stuff here, it's more instability further. You know, for them. Yeah, it
Because
carries
the
on.
neo rainbow is ever changing as well. The rules keep changing and the goalposts keep changing in that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Whereas one thing I know about children is children don't need more friends. Adults trying to be their friends are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Be a bloody adult.
Oh,
Children like
totally.
boundaries. Within boundaries lies safety. they like, you know, they might not like it at the time, but they sure as hell appreciate it. You know, I always refused to work with youth because I'm so hard, but I got told, nah, you should, they'll love you for that reason, because I don't want to be their friend.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not interested in being your friend, you're too young and stuff like that.
All they
And
want
now
to
all
know,
these adults,
all they want to know is
yeah,
that you're going to be there.
yes, that you're going to be there and be the adult in the room when they need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but that's all being turned on its head for this neo rainbow. They cannot trust adults, and the backlash is going to be huge. Because if you think youth are angry now, wait till they realise that you've lied to them all their lives.
Yeah. That's what I think too, Di. And are you
Yeah.
are you quite keen to get, I'm just curious about this, quite keen to get people to come on board and help, or is that,
Oh, absolutely. Yes,
yeah,
yes, we are. But
yeah,
we are hardliners as well. Could put a
yeah,
few people off. We don't use any of the language. We
yeah,
don't acknowledge any of it. It's all garbage. It is rubbish. There is LGB. End of.
yeah,
So we're really firm and we take that hard line.
yeah. And
And
that
like it's, yeah.
I mean, we need that. I mean, not all groups want to be that, but we need that. We need the variety. You can't all just be sort of, like following the same sort of plan or anything like that. So Mana Wāhine Kōrero has got a gig coming up soon, haven't you? At the end of June or
Yes,
something?
end of June at Matariki, actually, day before Matariki. So on the
Okay.
27th of June, we're at Parliament, and it's grandparents guarding grandchildren. We've got a variety of speakers. It's not just all about gender. There will be other speakers, like, for example, I've asked Daniel Starr to come and speak.
Oh, right. Oh, now he's the guy who stood against the lone guy who stood against the
Yes,
Palestinian protesters. Right.
yes,
Yes.
yes. And part of the reason I asked him is because the IPCA, the Independent Police Conduct Authority investigation for the Posey Parker rally last year, has been hijacked by this issue.
Ah, right.
Yes,
Right.
yes. So they've included the Palestinian Israel issue into the IPCA about the violence against women that was perpetrated. So it's been hijacked. So, you know, and
Okay.
he's got a story, like, you know, I'm all for free speech. I don't have to believe what you're saying, but I'll fight for your right to say it.
Yes. Oh, good one.
Um,
That'll be very interesting. So, and it'll be live streamed, will it?
yes, yes. Hopefully we'll get help, because I'm absolutely rubbish at that, Katrina. I'm hoping we're having New Zealand doctors speaking out with science.
Say that one again. You hope what? Sorry.
New Zealand doctors speaking out with science. I'm hoping they'll come and speak, because,
Oh,
you know,
that's an
like,
organization. That's an organization, is it?
yes,
Ah,
yes, and, you know, I'll just use the terminology we're all used to. Like, it's all these doctors that were speaking out against the COVID jab. But if you go look at the vaccine register from when we were kids to the kids now, it's mind-blowing. It is absolutely mind-blowing how many they're putting into our kids. And I can say quite honestly, Katrina, if I was to have my children these days, I wouldn't be vaccinating them.
well, that is quite something to say.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I wouldn't. And yet my children are vaccinated, Mukul's vaccinated, I'm vaccinated, but not now. You know, I clearly believe the pharmaceutical companies, the big billionaire pharmaceutical companies, have the world by the balls.
Well, that hasn't changed, has it really? I mean,
But, you know, like,
always been
look at
so bad.
Zika virus. You know, they stopped that trial immediately.
The what virus?
You know, I think, you know, it was only, I think, 500 or something were damaged, and bang, that trial was stopped. We can't do that. But there's no such consideration for anything anymore. It's just push, push. This whole tranny neo rainbow is a pharmaceutical push. you know, because they show, you know, you start with social transition and then you're given the puberty blockers and then cross-sex hormones, wrong sex hormones, the clear pathway of pharmacology. And then we've got the surgeries, and one woman could have half a dozen surgeries at, say, 30 grand a pop.
And
there's a lot of money in this.
Jennifer Billick has shown a clear pathway with that.
Yes.
From
yes.
pharmaceutical companies to this.
Yeah. And so everything's, you know, has an injection, like they're working on the bird flu, and yeah, it's just ridiculous. You know, and like, I mean, personally, since I've stopped taking the flu injection, I haven't been to hospital. And yet prior to every year I had the flu injection, I ended up in hospital.
I
you know, because I
mean, as you know, I'm a pro-vaxxer, as you know.
Yes.
But I haven't had the flu injection either. I've decided that's not something.
Yeah.
I've resisted that.
Yeah.
And despite everyone saying you should have, that's one thing I sort of cannot see that actually works. You know, and in the days when I worked in an office and people would have it, I didn't see that it protected them any more than anyone else.
No. Well, I used to take it because I'm, you know, compromised in my health and that. And then, I don't know, I just thought, oh, nah. You know, I just get like that. Just, oh, nah, I had enough of that. And I haven't been to hospital since, touch wood. Coming into winter season.
Hey, well, anyway, look, great chat. We could go on for a bit
Awesome,
longer,
Katrina.
but anyway, we'll call it a day. And
thank you.
I'll put the details of your rally, in the description below. And is there anything else you'd want me to put in there below, or anything like that?
Maybe what's our website, please?
Website, yes.
Yeah, so people can go read about what we're up to, and you know, and we hardline it and keep it hardline, because we're not only fighting for the children and the woman and stuff, we're actually fighting for the very essence of our culture. So we must hardline it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. Yeah. All right.
Oh, awesome, Katrina. Thank you.
All right. We'll talk again. Bye.
All right. Thank you, and happy editing.
Yeah. Thank you.